week? That's because it's time for this week's episode of RfRx, your prescription for coping. I'm Kara. I'll be your host. And of course, we have with us returning co-host Rob Palmer. Rob, how are you doing today?
I'm just fine, and I'm really looking forward to another fun episode.
I am too. I am super excited about this week's episode and this week's guest and this week's hangout. So I just cannot wait. So welcome everybody to the show. And if you haven't been here before, RfRx is our weekly live stream show where we host guests who discuss topics that are relevant to folks in the recovering from religion community. And of course, recovering from religion offers hope, healing, and support to those struggling with issues of doubt and non-belief. So thank you for joining us. And as a reminder, RFR is a nonprofit organization, and our shows are designed to generate conversation and engage our powers of reason. All of our guest speakers are presenting their own views, and people of any political or religious affiliation are welcome to participate in the show. This is a safe space for members of the LGBTQ+ community, and we ask that everyone keep your comments civil. If you disagree with someone in the chat, do so respectfully, and please respect the speaker, the hosts, the other guests, and yourself. And if you have questions that you would like to ask our guest speaker, drop them in the chat. We'll gather those up and ask as many as we have time for at the end of the show. So with that, Rob, would you care to do the honors of introducing our guest?
I will. Eric Murphy has over 8 years of creating, hosting, and producing call-in shows, podcasts, and scripted videos for both nonprofits and for his own personal channel. As a video editor who has worked with several of the largest atheist YouTube channels, Eric has seen the reach and impact atheism content has on the greater atheist skeptic community and dialogue. After traveling the country, debating at universities, conventions, and even church basements, Eric now lives comfortably with his partner in Portland, Oregon. Nowadays, Eric spends time coaching and advising new YouTube channels and podcasts, editing videos for other atheist YouTubers, and meeting every Sunday morning to take calls on Skeptic Generation, now in its 4th season, I believe.
You're right.
Welcome to RFR.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us, Eric. This is so exciting to have you on. I remember watching you for years and years when I was a baby fledgling agnostic atheist.
Oh, yay.
Yes. And I say that like it was ages ago. I'm pretty sure I'm older than you, but in any case, it is so
I think Eric was about 8 years old when he started on Talking.
According to Daryl.
That's a lot of people, according to Daryl, though.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm so happy about that. Definitely. And I think that it feels weird with the topic that we're going to be talking about, especially because, you saw me doing a very specific kind of content. And I think that, getting invited on this show with Recovering from Religion, what do I have to offer, right? Like, what can we do to help people get through this process, maybe work through trauma, or just help kind of develop and strengthen themselves when it comes to rational discourse and what to look for. I thought debate was it in a big way, and it turns out it's not. And so we need to talk about it, you guys.
Yes.
Really.
I am so excited to talk about this. I think this is one of those topics that we think about sometimes, and people talk about sort of, when you all get together at, one of the big conventions or something like that. We talk about it, but it's not one of the things that we always talk about publicly, especially on, for instance, monetized YouTube channels where, let's be honest, debates garner a lot of clicks and hits and engagement. And you want engagement when you're in a setting like this, right? But what are the downsides?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I think we should probably start by setting some definitions and making sure we're all on the same page. So I'm talking about structured debate. Structured debate usually has, if you've seen Intelligence Squared or an Oxford style debate, it's usually people take turns giving their opening statements, and then afterwards you have so many minutes to give your first, talk. Then the next person takes their turn, then you take your turn, they take their turn, and then usually there's some kind of Q&A or a back and forth. But really, it is an event that you go to. It is something you sit down and watch, and it is for the viewer. You are not trying to change the mind of the person you're talking, the other person on stage. You're trying to present ideas to the people in the audience. That is the debate, the way that I'm, talking about it tonight. If you are having an ongoing discussion with your uncle, good luck. And that's not what I'm talking about.
I'm going to bring this up again. Why is it always uncle? Why is it never aunt? It's always uncle. It's crazy uncle. Crazy. It's the best.
Because my crazy uncle's a white supremacist, not my aunt.
Fair.
Guy's an asshole. Uncle Chris, if you're watching this, I'm not looking forward to Christmas.
Uncle Chris, don't ruin Christmas with white nationalism.
Again.
Ugh. So upsetting. Well, and it's funny you bring that up. Well, white nationalism is not funny, but it's timely that you bring that up, given that, here we are, coming up, just finished Thanksgiving, if people celebrate that, coming up towards our winter holidays. People oftentimes are getting together with their family members and dreading it around this time of year, right? Sometimes for this reason. I know we may be getting a little bit off on a tangent here, but thinking about that, does that factor at all into your thinking on why, debating, and I know you just said a formal debate is not the same thing as talking to your Uncle Chris on Christmas, but what about when we are in these one-on-one settings? Is there a similar kind of phenomenon where we may find ourselves falling into unproductive modes of conversation?
Oh, I initiated those unproductive modes of conversation because, before I ever started doing content, I was watching shows like The Atheist Experience. I was watching Dawkins and Dennett, Hitchens, and Harris, the Four Horsemen. I was watching, all of them do these debates, and I couldn't get enough of it. And I heard people, when they were clever and quick and smart sounding, and I wanted to be clever and quick and smart sounding. And so you better believe I took all of those things. I took those examples, and I took it to Christmas dinner.
How'd that go?
Not well. It did not. It did not go well. It turns out that being clever isn't what changes people's minds, especially when it comes at their expense. You need to know who your audience is and what your goals are. And if your goal is to be real smug, and feel good and kind of stroke your ego, great.
Yeah.
If it's to change their mind, don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. Nobody is gonna come over to your way of thinking by feeling stupid. Like, I had a professor in grad school that would always say something along the lines of, have you ever, thought to yourself after talking to someone and having a big angry conflict, oh my goodness, now I see. The problem is that I'm an idiot and nothing that I say makes any sense. Ah, yes, of course, it's all clear to me now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. Don't you do that all the time?
Yeah,
I
of
do that
course.
all the time.
Thank goodness you told me. The
Right?
problem is solved.
I do need to. I'm so sorry, but do I see Gail Jordan in the chat?
Oh, yes. Yes, you do.
Gail, I miss you so much. I have not heard from you for so long. Oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. Thank you.
Well,
Also, genetically modified skeptic, my buddy is in the chat as well.
oh my goodness. Hey.
Yeah.
Wow, we have an awesome chat, y'all. I'm just saying, we have a pretty cool chat going on here. Also, don't forget to join us for the hangout in Zoom after the show. I'm pretty sure Gail will be there, and genetically modified skeptic, you're invited too.
Just for a little bit. Just
Yeah.
come say hi. That's all.
Yeah,
Okay.
come say hi.
So sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all.
But
Yeah,
we
so
were,
so what you're saying makes perfect sense to me because it comes up a lot on the Recovering from Religion helpline when people are calling in. They've stepped out of their religion and become an angry atheist, partly because, or at least sometimes it's the reason, because their family won't listen to them. Right? They
yeah,
just now they're arguing with them all the points. No, you're wrong. That's not what it means. That's not what the Bible says. Or why aren't you paying attention to the contradictions? and
yeah,
then
and
and then lead them down the path of understanding that just causes what's psychologically called the backfire effect. People who
that's
go
right.
into a conversation where they feel strongly about something and are forced to argue about it come out of the conversation feeling more confident that they're right. So
Mhm.
that's just a terrible thing to do.
It really, really, really is. Yeah. Sorry, I wanted to add more, but I stopped and just kept listening, and I realized I lost what I was going to
That's
say.
okay, it happens. This is not a formal debate, so it's
Oh,
okay if
good.
you don't
Oh,
structure your argument, very clearly, point A, point B, we get your premises and your assumptions, and
right.
we're gonna get down it's okay. We're here
Um,
to have a conversation and a dialogue where we hear
yeah,
from each other, and we're gonna build on what we say because we're all good listeners here, and,
cheers.
that's pretty important, I think, and something we lose sometimes in these formal structured debates, right?
Yeah,
Where
absolutely.
we're not listening to hear and understand the other maybe we're listening to hear the other person, but only insofar as we're gonna use what they said to inform our crafty little response,
Well,
not so much to think about and absorb what they're saying and understand them.
right. And
So Eric, what is your experience with debates? I recently learned that you do debates. You've gone around the country from your description.
yeah.
I did not know that. So what's your experience with?
Oh, I had a blast. It was fantastic. I was surrounded by people who thought I was awesome, and I did awesome at debates. And afterwards, people said, "Hey, Eric, you did awesome at debates," and I felt super good. And then every once in a while, I'd be getting emails from people saying, "You changed my mind," and I thought that was wonderful. I felt like I was making such a big difference. Um, but you can't. I think there's a very easy way into a bubble where you are surrounded by people who tell you yes, and you lose sight of the actual feedback that's important for you to hear. Um, and the feedback that I was getting, you'd look at it, and yes, I'd see people who said, "Hey, Eric, you changed my mind." And I'd also see Christians who would say, if they had nothing, nothing substantive, they'd say, "Look how smug he is." Right? He's ugly or he's this or he's that, because if they have nothing else, then they'll just ad hom, they'll throw out names. Um, but you would think that in a free marketplace of ideas, the best ideas would be the ones that won out. And so you would think that they would have listened and be like, "Oh, his smug, stupid face said an interesting thing that I'm gonna think about." Turns out
Well,
no.
yeah, I mean, as we all know, Eric, this is a meritocracy where the most qualified person is always promoted and the best ideas are always listened to no matter who they came from, and we all can arrive comfortably at the logical conclusion based
Yeah.
on hearing the same information.
Well,
Just
and
kidding.
no, well, I actually, honestly, I think that that's where we need to split this up into talking about the battle and the war, right? The battle is the debate, right? It is often talked about in terms of violence. You go in and you kick their ass or whatever. Um, but really, I think that I'm gonna. This is related, I promise. I sometimes do this, but back in ye olden times, there were professions that were taught, that you needed to find someone who was going to study under you. You would become an apprentice and then eventually a journeyman. And on your way to mastery, you would take those skills abroad and you'd learn new things. You become a master blacksmith, let's say. And as a master blacksmith, you want to prove that you have mastered your skill. And so you make a thing, whatever that MacGuffin is. It is proof of mastery. It is something incredibly difficult that only a master could do. And to demonstrate that, you'd walk into a blacksmith shop and you see, "Oh my gosh, you got a really crazy looking thing." Only a master can do that. That proves your skill. Okay, I have some kind of demonstration of mastery. I think debate is that for rhetoric. If you are practicing rhetoric, debate is how you can demonstrate mastery of that.
Mhm.
And I think
It's
that's
a
great.
performance almost.
Absolutely. Oh, it's
Yeah.
1,000,000% a performance.
Mhm.
A very charming wrong person is going to appear to win no matter how wrong they are, because the charming makes up for it, right? So that's a huge point. You're absolutely right, right? Like that alone is a massive strike in the good ideas are going to win out narrative,
Mhm.
right?
I'm told, I wasn't there personally, although, I am older than dirt, but, like, I heard this was, a big deal when, for instance, presidential debates, were a thing, and all of a sudden we have televised presidential debates, and I think it was the Nixon versus Kennedy debate where that became a point that people talked about, where they said, "Wait a minute, this is no longer just about ideas, now it's who is more charming, who is more photogenic," and all of a
Oh
sudden
yeah.
that's changing people's
My,
minds.
my recollection of that is people who heard it on the radio thought Nixon won, and people who watched it on television thought Kennedy won.
Yeah, that,
Yes.
yep. And Kennedy was a handsome guy, of course.
Mhm.
Of
Yeah.
course. And so yeah, let's get even more into it, right? So even in this example, right? We're going to leave the war for a little bit. We're going to pop that on the
Mhm.
shelf and just continue talking about the instance of the debate. Um I think that what people remember about debates is not good ideas. It's just not. Both of you, can you think of a debate that was really meaningful to you off the
Okay,
top of your
so
head?
we talked about the, intelligence squared debates
Mhm.
earlier today, and there's the one, with Hitchens, and a few other people, I can't remember everyone that was involved, where they're debating something like the Catholic Church is a force for good in the world,
Yeah.
agree or disagree. That one, stuck with me. It's a debate I remember, and I remember, bits and pieces of it, and to your point, I remember some really good zingers uh,
Yeah.
from that debate. Do I remember actually the arguments that were made? Are you about to quiz me on that? No, I probably
Well,
don't.
no, no, that's okay. Hitchens is a wonderful example. Hitchens is a perfect example to bring up, and I'm really glad you did. So Hitchens professionally was a journalist, right? He
Mhm.
traveled around the world and he saw the suffering in the world. And when he debated, he would tell the stories of that suffering. He didn't just say, There's a problem of evil. How do you, logically contradict that?" He'd say, "This person was held in bondage. This person was tormented. This person was tortured, and this person got away with it." Right? He humanized things in a way that made it tangible, and you can't get away. The ick really sets in when you realize that people are truly affected and there's evil going on out there, and he brought that evil to you, you
He
know?
did, yeah, you're right. He would tell stories and examples and say, "Let me tell you a story about my friend Stephen Fry, who's sitting right here."
Stephen Fry's
And
another great one. Yes. Sorry.
yes. Yeah, no, no, that was it. No, please carry on.
Yeah, these are amazing storytellers, and I think that we look at that and go, "Oh, yes, that is the usefulness of debate." No, that's the usefulness of being a good storyteller. That's fantastic. It's what you hold on to. It is what made such a big difference. We should continue to tell stories, but we shouldn't hold up a platform that isn't debate shouldn't be just telling stories. It should be, right, ideally, presenting the evidence and letting the good ideas win out. And again, right, in the battle of it, what do we remember? Not the debate. Okay. Um, so
Great.
then,
So
oh, go
my
ahead.
example here is the thing we talked about in the pre-show, which is the Bill Nye debate with Ken Ham.
Hmm.
You know,
Another
I
perfect
remember when
example.
that was brewing and it was announced, and I talked to my friend. I know he shouldn't do. Bill Nye should not do this. Should not do this. And then I watched it. A little trepidation. I didn't think Bill did as good as some other atheists thought he did, frankly. But anyway, so a decade or so has passed. I got to interview Bill Nye and I asked him about it, and he thinks it was a great thing to do because people come up to him occasionally or write him and say, "I saw that debate on YouTube, even though it was
Yeah.
10 years ago, and it changed my mind." But then we heard the story from Eugenie Scott, who was the head of the National Science Foundation. Bill Nye went to her after he signed up for it and said, "Hey, I'm not a biologist. I need somebody to teach me on evolution so I can debate this guy." And she said, "Bill, don't do it." And she was trying to talk him out of it, but he had signed the contract. He couldn't, and so they did their best and as my understanding is, she still doesn't think he should have done that.
No. So I think that Bill Nye is another perfect example, because I feel like it leads us like, y'all are doing great with the interview. Like, we're moving in a direction that I really appreciate. Yes. So like,
Yeah,
um,
totally on purpose. We planned it this way.
you're doing so I'm talking about the battle and the war, and here I think is where that comes full circle, right? Um, I think Bill Nye did great. I think he was clever. I think he was just so relatable. The stories that he told, with the way he said it, he was an exemplar of humility and grace and sharp wit, and that's fantastic. And so, if the battle is this instantiation of a debate, this example of a debate, how many examples can you win? That's fantastic. But what if you are winning the battles at the cost of the war? What if, in order to win the battles, you need to lose the war? Because we talked about this before the show as well. Ken Ham made tens of millions of dollars on getting new funders, getting new major financial backers, on getting tens of millions of dollars in state like write-offs and funding.
Which
Um,
partially funded the Ark Encounter.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, the Ark Encounter alone was over $70 million that they didn't have. Uh, right? That is the right. Yes, that is the right response. Okay, so how many people can come up and tug on your shirt sleeves and say, "Hey, thank you. You really helped me." How much is that worth? School buses full of public school children getting bussed in to be told that the Earth is 6,000 years old. How much is it worse? How much is it worth helping build connections for people to create disinformation machines? Because that's the
Yeah.
cost.
Right, and that's one of the kinda touches on one of the other things that people, really have some hesitancy about when it comes to these debates, and I'm using air quotes right now for a reason,
Hmm.
because it may in some cases legitimize, heavy air quotes again, arguments that are being made, by folks that are not logically sound or valid arguments,
Right.
but that all of a sudden are going to seem more legitimate if
Mhm.
you're able to say, "Oh, yes, well, here I was in a formal debate against well-known, credentialed person, with a lot of gravitas, behind them."
Yeah.
All of a sudden, no matter what you say in that debate, at the end of the day, you were on stage with this other person
Right.
putting forth an idea alongside theirs and going back and forth on it, and maybe you get zingers sometimes and they get zingers sometimes, but let's face it, if you have a following of people that already agree with you, they're gonna think you won that debate, and now they're gonna think you won that debate against a credible opponent.
Right,
Yeah.
which is why Neil deGrasse Tyson says he will not debate flat earthers
No.
or space deniers. Yeah.
Yeah, you're lending them legitimacy in a really major way. Absolutely. So I'm gonna. I have a reference point. Kara, I think I'm older than you. I'm 38.
You are not older than me, but I love that you thought that.
We need to talk afterward. Anyway,
Sure.
okay, then that's fine. This is even probably is gonna be even easier then.
And guess what,
Back in the
Eric?
day,
You're actually younger than I am also, just
I
yeah?
in
know,
case you
it's
didn't know that.
shocking.
Well, we were all 8 when we met Daryl, so that's at
Yes,
least good.
correct, that is correct.
Um, so, I was y'all remember Ricky Lake and Jerry Springer?
Yes.
You remember those shows? They would have David Duke on. They would have the head of the KKK, right? The Grand Wizard on the show. And the reason he was on at the time is because this is a clown. We all recognize this is a clown, and
Yeah.
we're all going to laugh at the clown. We're going to see
Mhm.
this obvious vile bigot,
Yeah.
and everyone just knows, and we're going to go, oh man, what a vile piece of shit. I'm glad I'm not that guy. And there was a bit of comfort that you have when you see somebody so terrible and you go, oh God, I'm not that person at least, and I think that there's this kind of Schadenfreude of, we're all taking a little bit of collective joy at seeing this person get put down for their vile bullshit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But then you have them on more, and you have them on more. And you're right. It starts to lend legitimacy. Do y'all remember the bell curve?
Yes.
Yeah, the bell curve. If any of you watching want to, you know, foster a new ulcer, the bell curve. um, it made the argument that racism it has a genetic um, foundation, that people of different races are more prone to violence or are more intelligent or more capable. Um, and I think where people really messed up is they kept having them on. You don't need to. The more you have them on, the more legitimate it may appear to be. And even if you don't agree with them, that Overton window shifts into becoming more acceptable. I think that
Mhm.
um oh my goodness, I just lost his name. Um, oh, can you help me? He's the kind of neo-Nazi white supremacist podcaster that's getting really big right now.
Oh, is it, Nick Fuentes?
Yes, it
Sadly,
is.
there's more than one.
No, no,
Okay.
Nick Fuentes is the big is
Yeah.
is truly, and there was a point in time when Nick Fuentes would have been absolutely at home on Jerry Springer.
Oh, yes, on, the "Look at this
Look
clown"
at the
episode.
clown.
Yeah.
Instead, he's being interviewed by major figures on the right and granted legitimacy. The
Yep.
more we have the discussion. Um, I'm happy my friend Jim Skeptic is here in the chat. He shared a quote with me that absolutely rattled me, and now I can't stop reading it.
Ooh, what is it?
So Jean-Paul Sartre.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Go for it.
So Jean-Paul Sartre wrote The Anti-Semite and Jew. Right. This guy lived through Nazis. The actual Nazis. And he wrote, quote, never believe that anti-Semites are completely unaware of the absurdity of their replies. This is him talking about anti-Semites wanting to continue having discussions about why Jews are inferior, right? They know that their remarks are frivolous, open to challenge, but they are amusing themselves, for it is their adversary, that's us, who is obliged to use words responsibly, since he believes in words, right? We're the ones who are believing these things. The anti Semites have the right to play. They even like to play with the discourse, for by giving ridiculous reasons, they discredit the seriousness of their interlocutors. You are discrediting the seriousness sometimes when you have these debates when they shouldn't be done. Oh, this is my
Oh, I love that
kitty.
we have a kitty joining us.
Mwah. She just recently had surgery, so she might be a little, so,
Oh.
on, but she's good. Anyway, I apologize.
You don't have to apologize ever for having pets on this program. This is a
Oh,
pet-friendly program, and
well,
we welcome them. We heard from Peggy Sue earlier, which is Rob's other
Yeah,
co-host.
I trying not to have that happen too much because Riverside doesn't have any kind of noise cancellation, so I have to mute my microphone when I'm not talking.
I love
yeah,
hearing from Peggy Sue, it's fine.
same. I love cats.
So there was a question in the chat that I think is
Yeah.
appropriate if we talk about it now. Someone asked, "Can you explain the Overton window for people who don't know about it?"
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So the Overton window is the middle. The Overton window is what you would consider to be the middle ground of the discourse. So there was a point in time when um, we had much more liberal justices on the court, and back in the day when women could have the right to choose, federally protected, you know, the discourse took that for granted, right? And of
Mhm.
course, women should have the right to get an abortion if they want to, right? That was, well, duh. We were talking about something else, but since then, it's no longer federally protected. States, there are a lot of states who've outlawed it. Now the question, should women be able to have the choice, sounds a lot more legitimate. The Overton window has shifted in a more radically conservative way.
Does this apply to getting used to anything? Like, I'll just randomly make something up. President being more and more insane.
Yeah, so honestly, the president being more and more insane is shifting the Overton window more and more. In fact, I so it's interesting when I find myself on the same side as the war criminals under the Bush administration, because we both agree that Trump is nuts. Um, I feel like a 2005 Republican um, has a lot more in common with a Democrat today.
Yeah, I don't think that's very debatable. I mean, I saw a
That
lot of
right.
detailed views of the party in Reagan's time anyway, put up against where the quote unquote conservatives are today. No, we love Russia. No, we love you. It's insane.
Right.
It's insane.
And I think that's what's really important though is I feel like in our movement, especially in skeptic rational atheist spaces, non-believers, whatever the case is, if you find yourself drawn to this kind of content, the kind of content that brought you here, maybe you think that sitting on the fence is a great idea. Maybe you pat yourself on the back because you are so wise as to, oh, I'm not this side or that side. I'm a free thinker. No, you're fucking not. You are sitting in the Overton window and letting everyone else push you where they want you to go. If you're going to sit in the middle, you are going to need to cave on your values over and over again, or just not have values strong enough to hold because they're going to continue to shift. They're going to
Mhm.
continue because it's just, you can't stay on the fence for long and still keep an idea because it's going to shift, right?
Yeah. Well,
Rob,
and
I'm seeing a look.
No, I'm wondering. I'm wondering if you debated these topics on the circuit before you decided it was pointless, or were you debating more the question of religious questions?
Oh gosh, Kalam cosmological argument, ontological argument, teleological argument. I debated with people about what is it? Tag the transcendental argument or flat or presuppositional apologetics, right?
Oh, pre-op
Oh,
Dawkins.
I
Dark
just
Dawkins.
bite into that.
Oh,
Yeah, and
oh.
honestly, truly, my inner navel gazing self will just dive into that like it's a fucking tiramisu. I'm so sorry. Can I'm gonna
Yeah,
turn this
yeah,
off.
yeah, no
yeah.
problem.
I
You can
apologize.
fucking curse.
Eric, there is no fucking cursing on this program.
Damn it!
What the hell is wrong with you?
Shit. No, but like I love tearing into that stuff. I stayed in the philosophical discourse around theology and apologetics. I figured I was smart enough to stay in my lane.
Good job. Actually, good job staying in your lane. A lot of
Right?
people do not have the good sense to stay in their damn lane.
Right.
Then we get, a bunch of transphobes talking about things they don't know on the internet.
Right. I think transphobia is another example of, the Overton window shifting, right? It
Mhm.
is now much more acceptable to be bigoted towards. And by the way, if you are a transphobe, you are by definition a bigot. That's not up for debate.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can try
And
and debate it, but it's not useful, like by definition.
it's not useful. And transphobe doesn't mean you're afraid of trans people like the way I'm afraid of spiders. Let's not play word games. That's not what that means.
No.
It
I
is
mean,
that
we
you
should.
are against trans people's very existence or ability to participate in public life or any other private decisions. That's what that word means.
Why don't we call it trans bigotry?
I would actually love that. I have a problem when words are not used the way they're normally used, and in
Yeah,
certain circumstances, I
I
do.
like big. I think people don't like being called a bigot.
And
Yeah,
people will not identify themselves as a bigot, although
yeah.
most people who are transphobes don't necessarily identify themselves as transphobes either. So perhaps it's a
Well,
similar barrier.
So it's interesting. I remember I was talking to a caller who was adamant that they were not a bigot, but they did not like trans people and they thought that it was an illness, right? And so I said, okay, so bigotry is a very specific form of um, why do I not have words today? Discrimination.
Mhm.
Discrimination is not necessarily bad. You can discriminate between chocolate ice cream and vanilla ice cream. You can discriminate, against, whatever kinds of friends you want to have. You can be very discriminating when it comes to what you put in your body, right? Discrimination is it's choosing one thing over another.
Pizza with pineapple versus eating better.
Pizza with pineapple is the
Is
best
No,
pizza.
no,
is delicious.
no.
Thank
Kara,
you.
you and
Thank
me.
you.
Yeah. Yes. Um, but when you are being discriminating against a protected class, or specifically just a class of people who don't have a choice, right? This is who they are. That specific brand of discrimination is called bigotry. So you can
Mhm.
be a bigot if you are discriminating based on race, on gender, on age, on religion. All of those things are well, we can argue religion, but still, right? So by definition, it is bigotry. But
Yes.
go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. It's exactly that. People wanna get all kinda wrapped up in the terminology around it. "Oh, you're not describing it correctly. It's not that I'm afraid. You're ascribing a feeling to me that I don't have." No, it's not about you. The problem is that you are opposed to other people's very existence, or at least their freedom to exist in the way that they would like to in a society that you are also participating in, and that is, in fact, bigotry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not sorry. No, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Shove it up your ass, guys. Like, if you can't, if
Yes.
you like, ugh. But so
Y
I want to try and wrangle this back
yeah,
to
we got off track here, but, like, maybe a way to kind of bring that back around full circle is what do you do? We're sitting here talking about something that is, pretty basic, and we're
Mhm.
saying, this is not a debate we're gonna have. We're not gonna sit here and debate back and forth with you about whether trans people can exist or whatever.
No.
It's
Um,
not something that's in question. So, what do we do then when someone wants to have that conversation?
yeah. I do want to add one more caveat because
Yeah,
I think that what do we do is a great way to, but so if I can set that aside for just a minute and bring up
please
one
do.
other piece, and
Yes.
that is, especially in atheist skeptic spaces, whenever I bring this up, they go, well, what about the people who haven't heard it? They need to listen to it. And if you're not there to give voice to these ideas, then how are they ever going to find their way out? You're just letting these people go unanswered, right? That isn't a argument that I've heard whenever this discussion comes up as well,
Mhm.
right?
And I bet the people making that argument are, definitely the trans people, right? Oh,
It's
oh, it's not?
it's
Oh.
interesting how being marginalized can kind of shift how you view and interact in the world. No, it turns out that it's more often cis white guys most of the
I'm
time.
shocked.
But I like so I took a break from doing atheist skeptic content for a while and I went corporate because I like health insurance. And so I was doing work for trying to help, financial tech companies and publishing companies, build out their portfolio and get them out there as far as media is concerned, right? Um, I was flown out to Montana for a big meeting with this business. I'm obviously not going to name them because whatever. Um, I was the only Mexican. Um, there was one other Latina, but she kept her peace, in her own area. I remember I was I was cornered by this very well-meaning guy who was just like, "Oh, you're Mexican. I love Mexicans." And then he sat me down and just wanted me to know, like, he listed off all the Mexicans he knew, and then he wanted me to know about all the Mexican food that he loves. Um,
Oh
and
my
this
god,
is
I'm so embarrassed
you're
vicariously
cringing, right?
about this happening.
Yeah, this is over half an hour. I'm sitting there and I'm just like, "Oh, that's great." And the reason I'm doing that is because I was afraid that if he didn't get a cookie, if he didn't get an attaboy, if he didn't get a, "Oh, you're such a good ally," then maybe he'll rescind his kindness to Mexican people. Maybe he'll go, "Oh, well, fuck them. I'm just not gonna be nice to them anymore." That's another kind of fence sitting. And I think that if people are willing to fence sit being an ethical, decent human being, I'm not interested in you or convincing you to begin with. I think that when you see people having discussions, because we brought up trans issues, right? If somebody is saying, hey, make an argument that is sufficient to convince me to allow trans folks to exist in the world, there's the door. I'm not interested. Go find Jerry Springer or Ricky Lake. Get on their show because you're a clown. But I'm definitely not interested in keeping space for you, and I'm definitely not seeing you as someone who is gonna be productive here. So, you know, when you frame things that way as well, there you should not ever gatekeep being a decent human behind, "Oh, well, you just need to provide enough evidence to my satisfaction," or, "Oh, you need to give me enough cookies so that I can feel like I'm a good person so I can continue to support you." Those are not good people.
Wow,
And
yeah, that's a really good point. Like, there should be a baseline that we do not have to convince people about.
no, and if you're one of those people, have a good hard think about that. Why are you gatekeeping being a decent human being? Do you require someone to give you enough evidence so that you can go, "Oh, okay, I'll treat you like a decent person." Empathy should not be a thing that is debated.
Right, and even just if you want to be congratulated for being a decent person and saying, "Oh, yes, I oppose this version of bigotry. Good for me." That's not an accomplishment, that's a baseline. Like,
Yeah,
we should all be starting there.
yeah, so this is an example, by the way, of how debate can actually be harmful even if you win. Because even if you
Oh,
win a debate, you are creating a structure now where people feel comfortable going, oh, a case needs to be made for human empathy. You need to provide enough evidence to my satisfaction for me to grant human decency. Whether you win or lose, the phrasing now, the way that you have set the groundwork, people now need to provide to your satisfaction enough evidence to be given, you know, compassion.
wow, that's really interesting the way you put that because, you are really good at debating and presenting points, which is to your credit, um but, like, you really illustrate there, kind of the danger. It's not that you're saying, "Let's not have discourse," but what I'm
No,
hearing you say is, "Let's not give people the opportunity to call into question whether basic human dignity or the right to exist should be extended to everyone, and set up a platform where that person may be able to charismatically and persuasively present an illogical, unethical, bad argument that will nevertheless convince a number of other people that that terrible fringe opinion is okay for them to repeat, and then they can go forward and repeat those talking points to other people who
mhm.
can't tell that it's a bad argument or can be
Oh,
convinced that it isn't."
and that's the easy one. That's the easy one because the people that don't agree with him, you're still doing a disservice to because now they're walking away with that structure as well. Oh, Eric debated for my values and he did so good. I'm glad and I know that you just got to make a really good case to be treated with human kindness. And if you do it well enough, then you win. That's not helping anyone either.
Yeah, right, that's a fair point. So, it doesn't matter if you win or lose
No,
that debate,
and
you've brought up the possibility that this topic is up for debate.
right, and so you may win the battle at the cost of the war. The war is specifically, um, what is acceptable, right? We are constantly in a discussion, especially when it comes to, cultural issues around what normal is. We're constantly pushing things back and forth, and when you introduce your white supremacist, you do it enough, you're going to build those neural pathways. You don't have a choice. The fact is, I mean, I'm sure you know this, right? In neuroscience, they say that every time you access a memory, you're changing it, right? The more you access a memory, the more it can diverge from reality, because in the act of accessing that memory, you're shifting it a bit, right?
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
not like a computer read write, the same thing comes out that went in. It just doesn't work that way.
No, it's more like a canyon, and the more water you run down that canyon, the deeper it gets, and the more entrenched you become in those patterns of thinking. And so if you get into a pattern of thinking that people need to make a case for human decency, for example, or that white supremacy should be, on the docket, or that, whatever the case is, you're building the neural pathway and they're doing it. And it is happening right now. So the question is, I think from there, now I'm ready to, I put the asterisk. Now I want to answer your question, right? What do we do? And where is debate, right? Does that mean debate goes into the trash bin? No, no. So first off, I think that, I think debate is proof of mastery when it comes to rhetoric. That's useful. And it's incredibly entertaining. That's great. I think that debate is really, really useful to rile up your own base and to have people walk away feeling, hey, I have good reasons for what I believe. Um, so what do we do when not debate? It really depends on your goal. If your goal is to have a relationship with your family, you need to think about what your family needs from you, and you need to evaluate whether you're able to give that, right? I don't know how many people on this call are poly, but that's the thing.
We've got a number of them with us here
Yeah?
today, I
Nice.
know for sure,
Yeah,
at least, among the RFR folks here, I know we do. We've had
I
some talks about that too, if anybody's, wondering, we have some previous RFRX episodes on the subject, so check them out.
yeah, so, ethical non-monogamy requires you to take a good look at yourself and say, "Here are my needs, here's what I can offer." And being able to communicate that and understand that that is what you have, and you need to be able to do that in order to, I think, ethically make space in your heart for another person, and make space for them in your life. And I think that you need to do that with family too. Not romantically, of course, but you know um I so when it comes to my uncle, what I said was, hey, I wanted to come today to spend time with my family because I love them and I love you. And if we get into this argument, I'm not going to be able to do that. And I really want to be able to enjoy this time with my family. Please let me do that.
Did that go over well?
It went over great until halfway through dinner. And he started to pick a fight. And his wife, who heard me plead with him earlier, hopped in and said, "Hey, what are you doing? Chris, Eric asked you." He's been like, and he shut up for the rest of the evening when it came to
Wow,
politics.
good going.
Wow.
It
That's
turns
pretty
out,
successful for a holiday meal
yeah,
with a family member, like, that's a pretty big win 'cause, believe me, I've been involved in plenty of those too, and, that can go sideways in a couple of minutes. To make it
yeah.
all the way through the meal, that's a pretty big deal.
I feel like there are some things that people need to come to terms with. You can't, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? You can't force somebody to understand that they're wrong. You're going to get the backfire effect. You're going to get all of that. I don't need my uncle to become the flag bearer for, like, progressive ideology. I just need him to pass the potatoes. Um, and we don't need more than that. And so we can stick with that. Um, and I definitely just want to say that, hey, everybody that's watching, this is RFR. This is the place to talk about it. Safeguard your peace, safeguard your wellness. You deserve that. So fight for that. And fighting for that might mean saying, hey, I'm here to enjoy my time with you. By the way, Rob, you brought up uh what is it? Psychon
Yeah.
earlier.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The biggest argument I've ever had when it came to the holidays was at a Psychon with one of the board members. Uh
Wow.
who is just was dead set on saying that Christmas should be abolished. It's this Christian propaganda, and we need to do our best to downplay it.
I know some of the board members. You'll have to tell me in the hangout when we stop recording who that was.
Oh, no. So the war on Christmas is a real thing. I've been telling my family members for years, "Y'all made up this war on Christmas. It's not real. Starbucks is not coming after you." But turns
Oh,
out
no,
there are some people that wanna go to war with Christmas. Oh, no.
interesting to say that you say that. I think the war on Christmas is actually a really important example that we need to talk about when it comes to the rise of fascism. Um,
Ooh.
I think the war on Christmas is integral to talking about fascism. So maybe I can come back
What?
on it. Yes.
Oh, we need to
So
talk about this. Yeah, this
oh,
needs to be a follow-up. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
Or if you
truly,
wanna give us
honestly,
the Cliff's Notes version right now,
sure.
you can, or we can
Yeah.
do a whole
No,
episode
no, no.
or both.
We can do both
Let's
to
do
explore
both.
it. So yeah, really quickly, the tools of fascism are not unique. It is what it is it's forced cultural assimilation. Assimilate or be gone, right? These tools have been used elsewhere. They are the tools of colonialism. When you take these tools and use these on different people, that is called colonialism. You do that so you can extract resources from them, but essentially you are forcing them to take on your culture, to eject their norms, their language, their sense of self, and replace it with their own, right? When you do that to your own people, that is fascism.
Didn't this happen with the Spanish in the Philippines? I think I,
Yes.
I think I heard this on a podcast, Eric. Someone was talking in detail about what happened there with that.
Yeah. I are you talking about mine?
Yes.
Yeah. It happened to the Philippines. It happened all through South
Yeah,
America. It
I
happened
had
all
never
through
heard that.
Africa.
I never heard that before. It's quite
Yeah.
fascinating. So they
Colon
went from town to town and made people change their last name to Spanish names. It's wow.
Yeah, and they're whole towns that start with the letter A as their last name and B. And it's nuts. But ultimately what I'm getting at there is this kind of forced cultural assimilation, right? Um, actual people who've written at the collegiate level who've written major papers about this through the 50s and 60s, they called it the terrific boomerang. Terrific, the like inspiring terror version of terrific. It is a boomerang effect that when you start using those tools you can't help but use them, and so when you get home you use them on your own people. And the number of colonizing countries that then came home to become fascist countries is well documented. So like this isn't just a personal viewpoint, right? Like we have evidence of this. And so what do we have? What kind of fascism do we have? We have a Christian nationalist fascism, right? This is nationalism that we're talking about. Protection of our protection of supremacy. And what does that sound like? That sounds like the war on Christmas. This is I think that for the last 30, 40 years, right? Bill O'Reilly, what gloriously I've forgotten his name, and now I'm going to ask you to remind me. That god awful radio host,
Rush
Oh,
Limbaugh.
Rush
yeah.
Limbaugh.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
the reason why it was so important to them to accuse others of pushing their ideology and pushing a different culture is because they were trying to make a case for fascism. They're making a case that it needs to be militarily, it needs to be protected. And
Ironically, Rush used to call feminists feminazis.
yes, he did.
Yes, he did, and never one time did I hear a coherent explanation of the connection between feminism and fascism. Never one time, probably primarily because fascism is, known to well, I take that back. People have made the connection before, but not in the way that Rush Limbaugh did. Never was it described how feminists were making the United States fascist, particularly when the proponents of Rush Limbaugh's ideas were usually busy trying to explain that women need to get out of the workplace and back in the
Mhm.
kitchen and be barefoot and pregnant. I do not see the connection there, but
Mm.
perhaps Derek has further thoughts on that.
And that's
Yeah.
evolved nowadays, where the political leadership says you're a communist Nazi.
Yeah, or a social Marxist or whatever that they're using now. Ultimately, though, these are them accusing so that they can do the thing they want to do. This is the root of it. We roll our eyes and at the culture war. We roll our eyes at the war on Christmas. But therein is the foundation that the rest of this has been built on. That is, this Christian nationalist supremacy. If it goes more Christian, we'll move into a theocracy. But right now, it's a fascism around this. So I'll get off my soapbox. I can talk about it more. I've got more details, and I can give you numbers, but like that's a different discussion.
Yeah, we do have, one week at the end of December set aside that we don't have a show planned for. So, if you want to come back and talk about the war on Christmas and make that connection for us, we're here.
So I mean, I think that I'm not trying to stoke fear in people, but I want people to know that these words have meaning and it is important. And even if it's not important to you, it being important to somebody else might inform the way that they treat you.
Mhm. Yeah.
And we need to take that seriously. I think part of the reason why we're not winning, when it comes to the culture war is because we were too busy patting ourselves on the back for rolling our eyes at them.
Yeah, and that's a great point and maybe a great thing to kind of talk about as we start to wrap up and go
Oh
towards
no.
Q&A. I
Oh
know,
no,
I
debate.
know.
We were supposed to talk. I'm so sorry. I keep doing this.
No, we did. We talked about debate, and
Okay.
we've already decided you're coming back for a second episode,
Of
so,
course.
don't worry, there's more time.
Y'all are amazing. I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Then let me just throw out there. What do you do when it's not debate?
Yes,
If
this is the thing. Tell us.
if you want to change somebody's mind, you need to care about them. If you don't, quit lying to yourself. You're going to get through to people through a mixture of right. Everybody in a conversation needs to be willing to have that conversation. There needs to be a level of empathy and respect, and it needs to be ongoing, right? How can you expect somebody to listen with an open heart if you're not doing the same? And that might be frustrating, especially when you're angry because you've come out of the church. Fuck, screw that, an open heart, right? But that's why it hurts. That's why it's tough. I used to say on my shows all of the time that uncomfortable feeling in the pit of your stomach, that's what Eureka feels like when it comes to these concepts. And you're probably going to need to get into that together with them. But it's not through pithy comebacks. It's not through self-congratulatory, rhetoric. It's through personal relationships, ongoing communication. And you don't have to do that if you don't want to. That's totally understood. We talk about angry atheists. I just want to say, if you're angry because you've been lied to your whole life, you have every right to be angry. Be angry for a while. That's healthy.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
you don't have to go have holiday dinner with
No.
people that are actively harming you. It's okay to say, "I'm not gonna show up and have cordial conversation with you about the potatoes because you are actively undermining my rights, or you are, part of a movement that is trying to have me removed, from society, and I don't feel safe here." Like, it is okay to not participate also, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if anything though, just especially for people who are on their way out, don't pat yourself on the back for being a fence sitter. You're gonna move wherever the Overton window moves you if you do. There's actually a quote by Goebbels about the kinds of people that they were looking for, and they were looking for people in the middle. That is their goal. Um, if you pride yourself on, I'm not part of this side or that side, I'm perfectly in the middle. That is an evaluation that you're doing, and you are untethering yourself. You need to have good reasons for the thing that you believe, right? Find out where your values are, find out what you care about, and learn about it so that you can say, hey, here's an epistemic grounding for the way I understand the world. And I'm open to learning and I'm open to being wrong, but I'm also not going to go wherever the wind blows me, you know? That's
Mhm.
I think that ties both of those things together a little bit. Is, don't be the person in the audience who is swayed so easily. I don't think that benefits you either. Um,
Yeah, I
that
think this
yeah,
this idea of being a moderate is good because you're not an extremist is not really a well thought out set of values. Is it something to think about if you find yourself on the extreme fringe? Sure, let's think about, why am I over here? Is it because I am talking about and thinking about a value that I truly hold for good reasons? And if so, great, there you are. Is it because I got influenced by people that I was watching on YouTube, and now here I am because I've decided, I'm being persecuted by the folks that just want to exist. Okay, perhaps that's a bad reason to be over there,
yeah,
but being
but
moderate for moderate's sake is not necessarily a virtue, is what I'm hearing
yeah.
you say. You need to
Well,
be, if you're moderate, is that because you have arrived in that space for good reasons, and here you are defending them and living them? Yes. Is it because you're blowing wherever the wind takes you? Ooh, this is a problem because what's moderate is gonna move.
yeah. And that these conversations around epistemology, how you understand the world around you, the more that you can build that out, the more structure you can get, the more stable you can be when it comes to that. And so I definitely advise that. But just one example, because I think it'll probably make your eyes roll out the back of your head, and that'll be done with, is back when I was living in Austin, Texas. I remember I made friends with this guy. He seemed like a great dude, and he's just like, oh, I'm just such a free thinker. I'm not tied to these dogmatic views. I'm a feminist and a men's rights activist. Let that sink in for a minute. That was his example of being perfect right in the middle. I'm a feminist and a men's rights activist.
Oh my goodness gracious. Wow, yeah. My
So
eyes are rolling into the back of my head. Um,
this was
because those are 2 sets of beliefs that on the surface, someone who doesn't know what either of those things is might think, "Oh, those sound like opposites, and I could support them both simultaneously," except feminism doesn't mean the promotion of women's rights to the exclusion of men's, and to become more powerful than men and to
yeah,
take
no,
advantage of men,
yeah,
whereas men's rights activists are not about gender equality
no,
at
and
all.
agreed. Yeah, so feminism is not misandry. Feminism is not man hate. Men's rights activism is misogyny. It is woman hate. It's baked in. But again, when you find yourself um, riding those trails, right? We need to see where we're at, because you get. My brain is actively trying not to remember his name.
And I
The
support you in, protecting your peace.
you get legitimate white supremacist, neo-Nazi, like folks who become more and more reasonable because they are getting more and more airtime.
And it's okay for us to not add to their airtime by saying their name.
There we go. There we
Yeah.
go.
Your brain
So
was on the right track of saying, "We're not gonna give this person airtime."
no, I appreciate it. But if we do got to wrap this up, then I just want to say, like, there is room for debate and it is entertaining. What you like about debate often is the stories that are told. And I think that we should find the storytellers. We should embrace them. We should learn and grow because it is through stories that we understand ourselves and the world that we're in. Stories are incredibly important. But when you are creating this fiction of a marketplace of ideas, you're setting yourself up for failure, and you can actively be degrading um, the well-being of others. Like it's really that bad. Oh, one last thing. I'm gonna kill
Yeah.
myself if I don't rotate.
No, no,
I
don't do
okay.
that, and it's okay.
No,
We can go as long as we need to. You're
um,
safe here.
I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry. So a marketplace of ideas, just saying, um, carries with it this idea that the best ideas are going to float to the top, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we look at current marketplaces, then we can see that the best ideas are the ones that are floating to the top. So everybody, way more people shop at McDonald's than they go to steakhouses. So that means that McDonald's gives better food than steakhouses, right? Because people are obviously, voting that, showing that in this marketplace,
Right, because
right?
as we all know, the invisible hand guides the market and prices are fair because, we all are legitimating that
Right.
by, with our dollar.
I
I'm being
no,
facetious,
no, no,
for
no. I no,
not
I
sure.
you're right. It's just people are bad at thinking. That is just a thing that we have to live with. People are going to
Mhm.
change their mind more often for convenience than because of truth. They're going to find what matches their worldview and go with that a lot sooner than they are going to embrace something that shatters their worldview.
Mhm.
Um, and because of that, we cannot keep treating this as a marketplace because that's just not how that works.
It's
Sorry.
not, especially when some people are not given the same opportunities to speak or are not in a position where they can even feel safe to speak without receiving death threats
Right.
for having the audacity to do so. It is not a marketplace that everyone is able to participate in.
But even if you did, you'd be a steakhouse. And if people are more comfortable going to McDonald's, even though you have the better food, you're not necessarily going to win there. Right.
Right. There are
Like,
so many other factors involved that are not which one is the best food or which one is the
right.
best
Is the
idea.
best idea, right? Or the best tasting, or at least goes along with what you already have on your plate. That's why I was
Absolutely.
talking about empty calories. And, I brought that up for the intro is that is empty calories. We need to watch what we're putting into our brains. And when we're filling it up with crap like that because it's convenient, or we're missing what's important.
Absolutely. No, those are great points. This has been a fantastic conversation and not a debate. I
No.
feel like I've learned so much more from this than I would have from a debate.
Yeah, good. Maybe it's not as entertaining as a debate, but that's okay. It's
Right,
it's
that's
this is eating
yeah,
your veggies, maybe.
it is, and we don't have, 100 people in the chat arguing with each other over what we're talking about. But that's because people don't come here for that. People come here to hear ideas and be in a place where they can think through things that they are working through as they
Yeah.
are dealing with, doubts or questions or working through the fact that they don't believe in all of the things that they used to believe in, or maybe they're wondering if they believe in those things that they used to believe in. And people don't come here to get told they're stupid. They come here to talk to other people that want to learn about things and talk together about things and unpack and deconstruct and all of that. And I think you've said a lot that is resonating with
I
people here.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this didn't go totally the way I thought the evening was going to go, but that's just fine, and this worked out fantastically, I think.
Oh, I'm
And
interested.
yeah, and yeah, I am too. Now, Rob, I know I keep saying as we wrap up, but I want to know what are
Yeah.
some of the topics that we haven't hit on yet that you were thinking we would hit on that, we do have time,
Well,
What do you
I also wanted to talk to Eric about, his background and how he decided to become an activist and the show and all that kind of thing. And we just didn't have time to get to that. That's all.
Yeah, I'm not interested in
But other people
sucking
might be
myself
interested,
off.
Eric. Yeah,
Uh,
people tune into these shows and they see somebody working and they're interested, but they don't hear much about how they came to do what they're doing, and then people are interested in that. So, but that's
ah,
just fine.
That's a fair point. Like, people do a lot of times come, to RfRx and to RFR in general, and this goes to your point, Eric, too. It's like, people are interested in hearing about people's stories,
Yeah.
and
this is
how did
true.
this person get from point A to point B? How did this person arrive here? How did they change their mind on this thing? I'm
Yeah.
changing my mind on something, and
Yeah.
I'm wondering how other people have navigated that, and those stories that we tell do humanize this for
A-
people. They're not
And
just
and I'm
thinking
gonna
about a structure of an argument, but they're
I'm going to segue
humanizing.
into a month ago at this point. I started a new series, a new video interview series for Recovering from Religion,
That's right.
named RFR Deconstruction Stories. And Kara was my very first interviewee, and I've done 9 of them at this point, and I'm going to do more. And it's just to get this on the record so that when people ask a helpline agent, hey, tell me about your background because I'm interested in how you got to be someone helping someone as opposed to someone struggling. We're not supposed to talk about that on the helpline. It's a non-disclosure environment, but this way we
Right.
can point them to that video series. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
Yeah.
definitely support that. Also, if you haven't seen Neil the 604 Atheist, uh,
Yes, we've had Neil the
we had a
604 Atheist on the
yeah,
show before.
he's made his whole thing doing that. He's a great resource. Anybody who's watching that wants to see those as well, that's a years deep catalog of that stuff too.
yeah.
Yes.
I always find it fascinating to hear the story about other people, how they wound up recovering from their religion. So yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
So, I know we're close to the end of time, and Eric
Mhm.
has said, "Hey, I don't want to get too far into the weeds with that." But is there anything, Eric, that you do want to share? This is one of those like extremely awkward icebreaker questions. Tell us something we don't know about you already. Um, I'll put the question this way. If when you think about your process of kind of changing your mind about the benefit of debate, for
Mhm.
instance, is there anything, any insight or experience, that you had, that you want to share that you think might be helpful to anyone who's listening, who's also going through a process of changing their mind, either about the efficacy of debate or any other belief that they have?
Sure, I can
I
give a
made that
couple.
super broad on purpose.
No,
Take it
I
where
got
you want to.
I can give a couple. The first is that I think I already brought it up, so I can probably underscore this now. That deep discomfort is there for a reason, and it's not a bad thing. It has existed in humanity for a long time. When you challenge your worldview, when your world shakes because of it, that means you're doing it right. It sucks, but human growth comes up most often through pain, and it hurts. When Socrates was asking questions, you talk about the founders of skepticism, and when somebody would get all the way to I don't know, that was called anomie. No, aporia. It was called aporia. That ultimate I have no idea, know? And later on, when the French philosophers were arguing and talking about nihilism, and you had the bottom fall out from under your moral understanding, and your stomach drops again, right? They call that anomie, right? We have all of these different words for and experiences of that discomfort. That means you're doing right. That is what eureka feels like. You're not alone, and it's gonna be okay. Seek that out. I know it is uncomfortable, but it is such a valuable thing. truly. Um, if you are moving into the holidays and you're wondering how you're going to get through it because of family and this and that, um, or you meet somebody at uh, Psychon who who says
We
you
have
shouldn't
to talk
celebrate
about this
Christmas.
after the show.
No, I'm not gonna. But what I will say is what I will tell that what I told them, and that is that these holidays are your cultural heritage. You were raised in these things, and if you want to celebrate them, you have every right. Any opportunity that you have any opportunity you have to tell the people that you love them is a good enough reason. It just is, and it doesn't necessarily need to be family. It can be whatever family you've chosen, but if you get to do that, if you get to have them, if you get to break bread and hug them and see them, that's enough of a reason. So don't tear yourself up about it. Um, if you want to get active in the atheist space, don't meet your heroes. A lot of them suck. Um,
We're generally terrible people here at RFR. Just kidding.
no, RFR is the sweet like the interesting thing is I actually volunteered on the Hotline project before I ever went on the air or became a content creator. Um, the respect I have for the volunteers at this organization is incredible. The heart and the work that y'all put in. It's
Wait,
been there.
wait.
It's in the DNA of RFR. Like y'all have heard the story of how Daryl started this organization, right? If you can sit there at the back of a Denny's and hear people say, "I'm hurting," and go, "You know what? We need to make a resource for that," and it's baked in. It's beautiful. We should celebrate that. Meet Daryl. Daryl's the sweetest fucking guy ever.
He'll be here in a short while, actually.
Yeah, he's gonna join us momentarily, in fact,
Yeah.
everyone can meet him.
So Eric, you're telling me you took phone calls for RFR? Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that! How did
Yeah,
I
Shelley
not know
Siegel was
that?
at the time too, I think.
Well,
Wasn't she?
Shelley, I don't know if she ever did, but she recorded the song that we play on hold, which is "You're Not Alone" for us.
Yeah, I
Yeah, she
thought
wrote
I
and
thought I
recorded that
saw
for
her
us.
name on the but anyway, yeah, I think I still have my packet, my RFR Hotline Project packet, somewhere in a box,
Amazing.
yeah.
Well, once an RFR volunteer, always an RFR volunteer, that's what I always say. I've literally never said that before tonight, but I'm saying it now.
Well, if anyone deserves it, you know,
It's
truly,
you.
honestly. No, it's you like RFR deserves it. Um,
No.
and yeah.
So we have to get in touch with our social media team and have them clip all of that stuff that Eric just said in the last 2 minutes
I will
Yeah,
give you
as
exactly.
sound
a
bites
short.
galore.
As a short.
Yeah, this is a great ad. Remember, everyone, Eric Murphy endorsed us.
As much as that's worth. Um, thank you.
Yeah.
I
No,
really
thank
enjoyed
you.
this.
Yeah, we appreciate you. I didn't know, before this that you were also a volunteer, before, and we appreciate that, and also we appreciate your ongoing support and your coming on the show and all of the cool work that you're still doing, which, by the way, we really are wrapping up now. Where else can people find you and your work,
They
and what
can,
you're up to lately?
yeah, they can find a whole lot less of me, and I'm actually pretty happy about that. I'm no longer active on Facebook. I'm no longer active on Twitter, and my mental health is better for it. If you want to see what
Amen to that. I support
right.
you in that.
I started a call-in show called Skeptic Generation. It's on every Sunday. I didn't want to interrupt with the other call-in shows that were on, so it's on earlier in the day, and it's allowed for a more international audience. It's ongoing conversations, and I'm not interested in making a big thing. I'm not interested in the big gotchas. It's just another place for fostering a community where people can call in about what they believe and why. But we also talk about politics because it's my show, damn it, and I get to do that. Um, get to be on with my friends, and it's a good time. If you want to see that, absolutely. If you want to see the work that I've been doing, I actually work full time now for Genetically Modified Skeptics. So if you've watched any videos in the last 2 years by Drew, Genetically Modified Skeptic, you've probably been seeing a lot of my work. That's a ton of fun.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then other than that, there's work that I've done for a bunch of other channels, but really that will take a long time. Like, what am I doing? I'm living in Portland, Oregon. It is raining outside. I've got a little one-eyed black cat that I adore and a partner that I love to death, and I'm happy with that.
Well, that
Glad to
sounds
hear that.
fantastic. And we're happy to have you here. And I
Yeah.
am with you all the way on not being all over the social medias. I also am not super active on other than, being here every week. But I don't read the comments.
I do. We
Oof.
could talk about that in the after show.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about
Yeah.
that in the hangout. Okay, let's wrap up and go to the hangout. I want to bring Daryl on, but we do have at least one question.
Yeah.
First, do we have time for one question?
Yeah.
Okay, Rob, do you want to read the question or should I read the question? Okay, Rob is saying go ahead. Okay, so we had a question that was, what is a good response when your opponent, and I'm going to rephrase that a little bit and just say the person that you're talking to, let's say you're in a debate situation, what
Right.
is a good response when the other person just says that your data is a lie and they don't believe anything you're saying?
Sure.
What can we do?
Yeah. So a good $5 word there is your interlocutor. That's the other
Yes,
person.
we love
Uh,
$5 words here. That's $5 in atheist bucks, which means you can use it for free.
when you are engaging with an interlocutor, there is a set of ground rules that not everyone realizes. And it's often referred to as the principle of charitable listening. There are some ground rules. The first is um, you need to assume the other person isn't lying. The second is you need to assume that the person, believes what they are saying. You need to give them the opportunity to give you the best version of, or assume the best version of what a person is saying. If you are trying to take people's words out of context so that you can try and make your point or give them a gotcha, you're not being an honest interlocutor. Um, these are principles that are required for us to have any kind of meaningful dialogue. If someone says you're a liar, they are not doing that. That is a sign to you that you cannot have those discussions with them, because as no matter how much you try to be honest, you can't be honest for them. They need to come and do that too. And you need to grant that to each other in order to have meaningful dialogue. If somebody calls you a liar, say, okay, turn around, spend your time on something more useful.
I love that. Setting boundaries.
Yeah. And I mean, truly, it is the foundation upon all meaningful dialogue. You
Yeah.
need to have a set of expectations that are reasonable, and assuming the other person's not lying and giving you their best, right? That maybe if somebody said something awful, maybe they misspoke, give them grace. All of these things are necessary, and if they're not doing that for you, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. And I love that what you didn't say was, if they're not doing that for you, then you don't do that for them. You said, if they're not doing that for you, then this isn't going to be a productive conversation and stop having it.
Yeah.
Not,
Oh my. If we want to do like a class on spiteful, like I'm petty.
yes.
I can be petty, but
Yeah.
that's not what you're trying to do.
No, it's not. And like there's always that kind of, tendency. Like I've even, thought that in my head before. Oh, okay, well, this person is going to talk to me this way. This person is going to use these kind of disingenuous techniques. Well, okay then. No. What
What?
are we doing? This goes back to what you said earlier about, are we going to lose the war because we're trying to win the battle?
Right. And
Let's not do
and
that.
at that point, maybe you're just interested in being entertaining, and
Right.
that's okay. But there's room for entertainment, but don't think you're doing more than that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, great point. Okay, well, I think that's a fantastic point to end on. And thank you so much again, Eric, for coming. And Rob, what are we doing next week? And I'm going to go ahead and let Daryl in because he's trying to get into the studio while Rob tells us what we're doing next week. Hey,
So
Daryl,
next,
Rob's going to wrap us up and tell us what we're doing
hi,
next week.
Dr. Ray. Next week, we have Richard Saunders, the host and producer of the long-term running podcast for Science and Reason from Australia, The Skeptic Zone. He will be our special guest.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. I cannot wait.
Okay. Hey,
Hey, Daryl. We just wrapped up and can't wait to hear your thoughts on this evening.
All right. Well, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. Well, I've just again had another panic attack the last 5 minutes trying to get in.
I know. I
I,
saw you trying to get in, and I wanted to go ahead and let you in so that you
oh,
didn't think we were having technical difficulties. It was just that
okay.
we were having difficulties wrapping up our awesome conversation with Eric.
Sorry.
That's all
Sorry.
No,
right.
it was fantastic.
I didn't know, operator error. I think sometimes it's almost always my fault.
No, you didn't do anything wrong. I saw you in the waiting room.
Okay, great, great. Eric, thanks a lot. This has been great. I can't wait to have you back and talk about some of this additional stuff that you wanted to talk about. As I was listening to you, one thing is I've been concerned about for years now is what I call the Joe Rogan effect. You bring somebody on and you never challenge their bad ideas. You just let them ramble on and you offer them credibility because you don't challenge bad ideas. I think we've seen a lot more of that, and I'm concerned that sometimes it happens in our own community. Sometimes I think people are just more interested in clicks than and views than they are the truth. Anyway, it's just um, Daryl's kink, I guess. I like truth, and but anyway, so I appreciate what you were saying there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room for debate on a lot of things. I could think of half a dozen things that I think there's room for debate on, but there's no room, and really like the way you put it. There is no room to debate whether I have a right to exist in this time and place. That to me, I thought that was a really well stated. That's not a debatable piece of. It's not debatable. Period.
No. Because what could you possibly give? Like, do you ever need to provide enough evidence to someone's satisfaction for them to grant you kindness, decency,
Yeah.
empathy? Like, even the framing of it is a disservice to everyone.
Right. I totally agree. It and that's the way it's done. It's framed in a way that looks innocent, but it's really not. It's insidious. It's yeah, it can be murderous even. It doesn't take long to get to the place where you have no right to exist in that kind of language. I did want to emphasize something you did, and I thought it was a great example, and that was with your uncle. You set a boundary kindly and respectfully, but firmly with him. And I thought it was interesting that his wife overheard it and helped you enforce that boundary. That's good. My question would be, how would you suggest halfway through the meal he violates that boundary? How would you advise proceeding if she had not intervened?
Yeah.
What do you think a good course of action would be?
To gently remind him. So I think that in that example, when I met with him the first, I said, "Hey, I really want to enjoy this time with my family. Please let me do that. I really want to not get drawn into an argument that is going to wind up disrupting everybody. I don't get to see everybody very often. Please let me have this. I'm not interested in this argument." If you would have brought that up at the table, I would have said, "Hey, Uncle Chris, I've been pleading with you not to do this. I think that there is a social pressure not to be the asshole at the table, and in not choosing to engage, he is the only aggressor at the
Yeah,
table.
right,
And so when you say, "Hey, I've asked you and you keep pushing this. I just want to enjoy my time with the people here at this table.
right,
Please let
right,
me do that." And then now it's an issue for the whole table. Now everybody understands that we're safeguarding each other's peace.
right.
And
Yeah.
if that can't happen, they'll know. Like, boo hoo, like he gets to be responsible for that.
Yep. I love it. I think that's a very good way to handle it. Well, I need to move on and give this back to our host here, but thank you for being a volunteer. I remember back when you were a volunteer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were one of the early ones. I mean, it was before the pandemic, if I
Oh,
recall.
Oh,
like
this
tw-
was 2015,
yeah,
2016,
exactly. It was 2015 because
2015. Yeah.
we had just started live chat line, not more than a few months before you came on board, if I recall. Yeah,
That was, yeah. But even then, man, the resources that you had managed to gather was mind blowing. I was just so impressed with everything that had been gathered and prepared as resources for people calling in
Oh, you should
in
see
the
it
chat.
now,
Oh,
Eric. It's probably
yeah.
orders of magnitude more.
I
I was going to say that, Rob. You need a bigger brain. Your brain's going to get blown a lot bigger than it is now because the resources we've got are far better, far bigger. Our training, the training that our agents get is orders of magnitude better
it
than
needs to be
anything we
better.
have.
You let an a-hole like me on, I think you got to get a little bit better, Daryl.
So there's another sort of famous YouTuber atheist person that did not make it for some reason. I don't know the details, but I heard Matt Dillahunty trained but never took calls.
Matt
Ah,
did train, and you know what I respected about Matt is he trained. He went through original training, and at the end of the training, he said, "I am not cut out for this. This is not for me."
It's great
but
when you know yourself.
but then he turned right around. I mean, this is literally a conversation that he and I had. He turned right around, but and said, "But I will support you and RFR until the day I die. This is worth doing, although I can't do it."
Wow,
I
yeah.
love that. I thought Matt he had a lot of integrity about that.
And he
And
does that. I listen to him, on the ACA now on the line, and there's, barely a time goes by when in my opinion, I'm thinking, refer to us, that he doesn't do it. He
yeah,
always
yeah,
manages to do it at the right time.
yeah. We appreciate all the YouTubers, not just Matt, but we've got a whole universe of YouTubers out there that are referring people to us all the time, and we really, really appreciate that. And I know Eric, you have done it. You've done it on your previous, podcasts regularly. I noted
yeah.
regularly you referred people to us, and we
So my,
appreciate that.
yeah, my volunteers actually have a shortcut. They just have to press a button anytime somebody needs those kinds of resources, and it points them right to RFR.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, back to you, Kara.
All right, thank you. And you may have noticed that my background has suddenly changed. The reasons for that are mysterious to me, but that's not because it's magic, it's science. I just don't know how to use it. So sorry about that, but that just means it's
Malfunctioning technology. My microphone icon just vanished, and no matter what I do, I click on it, it will not come back, and I don't want to go back out
yeah.
and come back in. So,
It's probably user error on both of our ends, who
I
knows? But
don't think so.
we appreciate people hanging out with us, and we are ready to go to the hangout. In fact, don't forget, for more information about recovering from religion and to access our other resources, you can visit our website at recoveringfromreligion.org. And if you go on the website, you can find out all sorts of things like contacting a volunteer on our helpline. You can attend a support group, visit our resources page that we just talked about, listen to the podcast, get connected with a licensed mental health care professional, or even learn how to volunteer to apply to be a volunteer yourself. I think I said volunteer too many times in that sentence, but we love our volunteers. And with that, Rob, remind us again, where can people find us on the interwebs?
All over the place. We have a link tree, which is Recovering from Religion. We have a Facebook, which is Recovering from Religion. We have Instagram, which for some reason is not Recovering from Religion. There it's just RfR.org. On TikTok, we are at Recovering from Religion. On Blue Sky, we're recoveringfromreligion.org. And yes, you can find most of our previous recordings of these shows on our YouTube channel in the RfRx playlist.
Outstanding. And with that, let me go ahead and hit mute. There we go. With that, if you are watching this live and want to continue the conversation tonight, join us for the post show hangout over in Zoom. I am going to drop the link to that into the chat. Those of you that are already in Zoom will be right there. Those of you that are watching on YouTube, I'm going to drop that in the link now. You can click that link and join us over there in just a moment, and we'll hang out and continue the conversation. And with that, it's now time to log out with our catchy catchphrase, which tonight is, thanks for joining us for RfRx, where curiosity is contagious and the only thing we're spreading is support. Stay sane, stay secular, and see you next week. Bye.